Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. My name is Diana Skaya. As EU foreign ministers gather in Cyprus, the bloc is signaling a tougher stance on Russia, backing Ukraine, pushing for more sanctions, and debating what role Europe should play in any future peace process. Krzysztof Jaworski, the Deputy Director at the Institute for Security and International Development, joins me in studio. Thank you so much, Krzysztof, for taking the time to be with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
So, EU foreign ministers are in Cyprus with a stated maximalist approach. This is what we've heard towards Russia. And for that matter, let's listen to Kallas for a moment.
As the latest strikes on Kiev have shown, Russia still shows no genuine interest in peace, which was also the clear view of the ministers today. Moscow's direct threat to kill foreign diplomats in Kiev is a public announcement of a war crime.
What do you make of her statement? I mean, saying that Europe can never be a neutral mediator, also because it's openly on Ukrainian side, and in general, what's your take?
So I will start by reminding the famous for his approach to negotiations former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Soviet Union, Andrei Gromyko, who always had this approach to our negotiations to escalate the demands. And nowadays, Russians are doing the same. It's the same school of approach toward negotiations. In my opinion, such approach from European Union, which was expressed by Kallas, is a good approach in face of such opponent, because as we've seen in negotiations which were orchestrated by United States, things like getting away from the beginning demands, giving away this field towards Russians, it's pointless, because they will always demand more. They will always try to reach political goals, even in military situation is not on their favor. So in my opinion, such approach is a right approach, but what is needed is also to weaponize this approach, to follow this approach by decisions, by money support for Ukraine, by military support for Ukraine, and also by better organization of European defense spending, of European armies, of general approach toward our defense. Such words without the decisions and actions will be only words.
All right, so this is quite an important point that you're making. So, again, would you think that at this meeting, are we going to see some concrete steps?
I suppose that this meeting, as many previous meetings in different formats, will be, to some degree, the step forward. Of course, each of these meetings is full of bargaining, is full of decisions which are compromises, and also it's really hard for such complex and hard to steer organism as European Union. It's 27 different countries. There are many political options inside each of these countries. There are complex ways, also in this formal way of making these decisions. There are also differences regarding the priorities. Of course, for eastern flank, the war in Ukraine is a top priority because it's directly threat for our security. The situation, if you look at this from example from Spain or Portugal, is different. So I hope this meeting will be also the step forward, but I wouldn't bet on the breakthrough.
Krzysztof, what do you think the priority should be?
In my opinion, the priority should be to stop Russia in Ukraine and not let it get out of this war with any kind of gains. Of course, it would be costly also for Europe in the matters of financial spending, of the support of public opinion for such unpopular decisions. But at the same time, my assessment is that it would be much better investment than to let Russia to somehow get out of this war with gains, or even worse, to, for example, lift economic sanctions against Russia, because after some time, if they will be able to rebuild their economy, if they will be able to rebuild their military, they will try again, and their demands will be even greater, because they will have this fresh experience of betting on military aggression, of using of force and getting away with it and also benefiting on it. So in my opinion, this sometimes unpopular decisions regarding the continuous and even bigger support for Ukraine would be good from the strategic point of view for Europe, for each European country.
Speaking of course, aid. So a new defense deal with Ukraine, with Sweden, right? Sweden has greenlit Ukraine's procurement of 20 fighter jets. Sweden wants to donate even more. How do you think that deal is looking forward? And I also want to ask you at the same time, do you think that an unconditional ceasefire would actually be able to come before negotiations? Because, I mean, you know, we keep talking about that Ukraine needs more aid, but at the same time, you know, in order for this war to end, we need peace and a ceasefire.
So to start with this part of a question regarding the Sweden-Ukrainian armament deal regarding Gripen fighter jets, Sweden is from some time already really active regarding their presence in Ukraine. They recently opened their think tank in Kyiv. They are maintaining these relations, and they are also really pragmatic. And one of examples of this pragmatism is the defense deal we mentioned. I think it's a right approach, and I think that, for example, Poland should also be more active regarding these matters. And going to the second part of the question regarding the possibility of ceasefire before the negotiations, in my opinion, it would be really hard to achieve because of the assessment of the situation on the side of Russia. Because in this moment, still, even if there are struggle for Russia in this military field, they are still calculating that the continuation of fighting is playing on their side. And they had some good reasons to think that way, because even if they were losing a lot of people and also their achievements aren't great, they were continuously going forward. For some kilometers each month, but it was going forward. Now the situation on the field is also changing. It's too early to assess how it will go in the future, but there are many indicators which points to the possible stopping of Russian advance.
That's quite a change since 4 years ago. Let me ask you about this UK-Poland security treaty. That was signed in London this week. It's being presented as historic. Poland and UK relations, do you think that we could actually see a Europe that's ready and secure without US security guarantees, that Europe is actually prepared and slowly taking the steps in order to defend itself?
I think that the Europe, which is able to defend itself without United States, is a game which is worth to play for. However, at the same time, it's really hard, and also there are many risks ahead. For example, regarding the possible change of government in countries like Germany, like France, and the possible other governments with anti-establishment parties, they could and they possibly will have, if they will get the possibility to decide, the opposite approach toward many things. For example, toward Russia. Many of these political parties are proponents of business as usual, to get back to the cooperation with Russia, economic cooperation mainly, and to make concessions, and these concessions will be on our cost, on cost of eastern flank, especially Poland and also Ukraine. So in my opinion, this is good to point toward this more of self-reliance in Europe when it comes to defense, but at the same time it will be really hard to achieve this, and it's like a process which will take 5, 10 or 15 years. So for now, I think that it's much better to focus on smaller goals. For example, like treaties between United Kingdom and Poland. It's not a silver bullet which is, well, making all our problems go away, but at the same time it's one small step forward, and other such cooperations, other projects, concrete projects regarding the defense cooperation, the intelligence cooperation, they are all these elements from which the security and deterrence will be built in the future.
Thank you so much, Krzysztof Jaworski, Deputy Director at the Institute for Security and International Development, for breaking it down for us here on World Talks.
Thank you very much.
And that's all for this episode of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.